Welcome back to another explainer. Look, we've all heard the absolute horror stories, right? The temperature plunges, and suddenly a house is totally flooded. Well, today we are taking Dr. Drain's expert winter plumbing guide and turning it into your ultimate step-by-step emergency action plan. We're going to take the panic completely out of the equation and replace it with some solid, structured knowledge.
So let's just start by validating the really high stakes here. When winter temperatures absolutely plummet, water freezes, right? It expands. And suddenly, a perfectly normal pipe becomes this ticking time bomb just sitting behind your drywall. It's super common for homeowners and renters alike, but if we act carefully, we can restore that water flow and drastically lower the risk of burst pipes, electrical hazards, or, just severe water damage in general.
Okay, let's dive right into our structured roadmap. We'll be hitting 6 clear phases today: spotting the freeze, limit the damage first, safe thawing techniques, avoiding hidden hazards, success versus calling the pros, and finally, preventing future freezes. All right, phase 1, spotting the freeze. Time to become a home detective. Because let's face it, you can't fix what you can't find, right? So we really have to rely on visual and sensory clues here. You're going to want to look for literal frost on the pipe, or maybe you notice a sudden drastic drop in your water flow. Listen closely too. Are there any weird, strange knocking sounds? Feel around for sections of the plumbing that are just significantly colder than the rest. According to the experts over at Dr. Drain, isolating the specific frozen spot using these clues is a total game changer. It means you can focus your warming efforts right there, which is vastly more efficient and way safer than just, blindly trying to heat up an entire wall or floor. Moving right along to phase 2, limit the damage first, where we isolate the threat. Now, this is absolutely crucial. Before you apply any heat whatsoever, you have to take control of the environment. If a burst has already happened unseen behind a wall, following these 3 chronological steps will seriously limit potential flood damage. First things first, shut off the main water supply or that specific relevant valve. Then, and this is key, open a downstream faucet. This incredibly simple action relieves system pressure. Plus, it gives all that melting ice somewhere to actually go once the flow starts up again. Which brings us to phase 3, safe thawing techniques. This is where we hit that really delicate balance. Okay, the absolutely vital point here is this microprocess. You literally have to direct your gentle heat from the outside in. You want to start at the outer edges of the frozen area, and then slowly, patiently move toward the center to encourage gradual melting. If you start smack in the middle, the melting water gets totally trapped by the ice on either side. That builds up pressure, and no joke, it can actually cause the exact burst you're trying to prevent. And that leads us nicely into phase 4, avoiding hidden hazards. It's the classic battle of speed versus safety. You definitely want to stick to safe, controlled heat. We're talking warm air from a space heater, your standard hairdryer, or specialized plumbing heating pads. But please beware of the dangerous heat sources. Never, ever use open flames. Dr. Drain specifically points out that using a torch or a propane heater on plastic pipes will literally just melt or scorch them, instantly making the whole situation way worse. And if you have metal pipes, well, rapid or uneven heating from a high heat flame puts a ton of stress on the joints and connections, causing them to completely fail. Plus, we really have to think about the environment we're working in. Mixing electrical heating appliances with cramped, damp spaces, that creates some severe, life-threatening hazards. You have got to keep those electrical cords totally dry. Don't go placing electrical equipment directly against wet pipe surfaces. And hey, if you start seeing water pooling while you're working, stop immediately. You have to address the leak before continuing, because electrocution is a very real, very serious risk here. Actually, let's just slow down for a second and really absorb this foundational takeaway from Dr. Drain. They note that thawing can definitely feel urgent, but safety matters just as much as speed. It is so incredibly tempting to rush when your home is freezing cold and your water is completely cut off, but patience is absolutely your greatest tool here. So, what does this all mean for us? Well, it brings up a really vital question. When is it time to just stop? When do you finally throw in the towel on the whole DIY approach? That brings us to phase 5, success versus calling pros, which is really all about knowing your limits. Let's look at how to identify a big win versus when to call for backup. You really want to listen for that rewarding hiss of success. As the ice starts melting, you'll hear that hissing sound, or you'll see water starting to drip from that open faucet we talked about earlier. Once the water is flowing steadily, you can turn the faucet off, but hey, your job isn't quite done yet. You still have to keep checking for leaks around any joints, fittings, or exposed areas.
Now, on the flip side, if the pipe just doesn't thaw after a reasonable amount of time, you absolutely must stop. Don't keep intensifying the heat. Call a licensed pro. You might be dealing with multiple blockages, or the pipe might just be totally inaccessible inside your walls or ceilings. Seriously, don't push your luck.
Finally, we hit our resolution phase, phase 6, preventing future freezes. Let's future-proof that home of yours. By proactively checking off this action plan, you take complete control of your plumbing before the next winter plunge even hits. Make sure to insulate those exposed pipes. Get in there and seal up any gaps in your exterior walls. And don't forget that classical trick. Let your faucets drip just a bit during extreme cold snaps. Oh, and absolutely crucial, know exactly where your shutoff valve is located before an emergency happens. You might even want to figure out a water shutoff strategy for those long winter trips away from home. So, I want you to take a look around your home today. Find that shutoff valve. Check that insulation. Are your pipes actually ready for the next deep freeze? Or is your house just one cold night away from a complete plumbing disaster? A little bit of preparation right now means you definitely won't be desperately holding a hairdryer in some cramped crawl space tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining us on this explainer, and hey, stay warm out there.